I'm Elliott, and this is my persuasive speech on AI, or artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence is which is used in many projects today and products. Falls under a large scope. It needs to be regulated in the United States of America because of the negative effects it has on the people right now and the future generations to come. AI basically mimics a human mind, just in a digital computer form. This can take in forms of facial recognition, which can falsely identify people when the police use it, or any like airports. There's another fear that it will be smarter than a normal average human, or even the super smart people, and it could take jobs away from people. And finally is how self-driving cars can have glitches, causing harm or death to people driving it or getting in the way of it. Facial recognition is just one small part of AI. For an example, when a police department can't find the name of a person by fingerprint, they can take a picture and upload to a database, and it'll come back with many results, and then they can compare, and it has a result percentage of how close it is to the picture they submitted. The problem that I gave with that example is it's not shown to be always 100% right. AI-driven programs are based on algorithms trying to match a picture to the picture. From CIS, verification algorithm used to match subjects to clear reference images like a passport photo or a mugshot can achieve accuracy of 99.97% on a standard assessment on a vendor test. But in the real world, that'll never happen. It'll never be perfect when a police officer is using a laptop in a field versus a lab when it comes to doing facial recognition. From the same article, they found that the error rate from one of the leading facial recognition algorithms climbed from 0.1% to 9.3% when matching pictures that came from the wild instead of coming from a lab. Imagine your family member was part of that 0.1% to 9.3% error rate. When the police put a grainy picture in, it pops out their name. Even though they were never at the scene of the crime, this is why it needs to be limited in law enforcement. In coding, they call it garbage in, garbage out. You're just not going to get a good result. They would have to metadate, to fix this, they would have to follow a certain steps before they're using the database to find the person, in the last-ditch effort, and the possibility of using a search warrant to be used and approved by a judge. Another common fear: AI will become smarter than the average person, or even smarter than the brightest people in the world today. One of the most smartest people of our time, Elon Musk, has said from a 2014 MIT interview, he called AI humanity's biggest external threat and compares it to summoning the demon because of its capability and power. Currently, there is no regulation limiting what companies can do with AI right now, but some of the big companies in the Silicon Valley have pushed to have a standard set of rules and regulations they would have to follow. Some of the companies would be Alphabet / Google, Microsoft, Apple, and Facebook, even though Facebook has their own facial recognition and they're the biggest hoarders of data on the internet. Mark Zuckerberg has said that there's no question in my mind that artificial intelligence needs to be regulated. And also from IBM Policy Lab Chief Executive Jeanine Ramonti has said the government can't do this alone by any stretch, she said. The first rule would be to regulate the use of technology, not the technology itself. Because in the EU they have put such limits on user privacy for people, that limit on what they can do with AI and getting their faces from like Facebook, Instagram, and all these digital sources around the world. Think about it, if you're applying a job to write computer code for a certain one like Google, later then you're working halfway through the project and you could be just fired because the algorithm or the AI has taken over your job and is able to write the code faster and better than you can and fix it in real time while running on the website. website, so it would never have a problem. No intrusions. It would be perfectly up to date and working perfectly at all times. These rules need to be set in place so it does not limit innovation, but it just limits on how people can use it. They can still build this stuff, but it limits on what normal people can use it for in companies. And finally, the last AI topic is when it comes to self-driving cars. What I mean by self-driving cars is fully autonomous driving. That's level 5. It goes from level 1 to level 5. This is level 5. The gold standard of a self-driving car is a Tesla autopilot, but there is other companies doing it like BMW, Honda, and Toyota. I'm just going over the general problems with self-driving cars that we're dealing with today. The U.S. government does not limit self-driving cars as right now to be on the road right now. It's all in a beta program, and you're opting in. You're paying for it. You're paying like $10,000 for Tesla's autopilot, but you're opting in to try out the software. It's all in beta, and it's not officially done. Companies right now are trying to make fully self-driving cars and buses. There's a major problem with that. It's likely to lead to more crashes and deaths due to the fact technology has not been fully developed, and that a human can react quicker to unknown objects, where the AI needs to be trained in that before it can react into it properly or predict what's going to happen. One big problem is developing the software to drive the car, because technically the person developing can decide if the driver or the pedestrian or the person right in front of them they're about to hit will the driver die or the person on the bicycle or walking die. From the Guardian now, from an article from the Guardian, now it's found a fresh life in debate over autonomous vehicles. The new variant goes like, your self-driving car realizes it either can divert itself in a way that will kill you and save the person in front of you or the children, or it can plow and save you but kill all the people in front of you. What should it be programmed to do? That is the major question with self-driving cars. What should they prioritize? What life should they protect, you or the person in front of you? A way to fix this would be to set a global body that oversees the development of self-driving cars and make sure there is no bias and trying to keep it as neutral as possible, but making it safe and not to limit innovation on the software and hardware. Also, we have seen the story of the person falling asleep on the highway, letting the self-driving car drive itself. Imagine if you were hit by that car. Would it be the driver's fault or the automaker who was letting that happen if there was a lawsuit brought up in this case? Most people would be very upset. In conclusion, I have shown why artificial intelligence can be very bad for people in the United States, but also globally around the world too. Myself and many others are part of the problem because we use AI every day, like Google Assistant app or Siri and that, to help our day progress and have entertainment and fun. If the main 3 points I covered was facial recognition, AI becoming smarter than people, and self-driving cars they all need to be at the top of the government's priority to make sure that technology is not being misused to harm people and controlling it. And thank you. This has been my speech on AI.